Good evening and welcome. I am Amarachi Ubani. Tonight, Director of Biafra Radio, Nnamdi Kanu, continues battle for his freedom as he seeks transfer of his case to another judge. Kaduna Refinery begins daily production of 3.2 million litres of petrol. Muslims celebrate Eid al-Maulud tomorrow, marking the birth of the Prophet Muhammad. And Afghan government forces push to reclaim the center of the town of Sangin in Helmand province.
And on business news tonight, micro-lending to women identified as way out of poverty in developing countries.
And on sports news tonight, Michel Platini's bid to clear his name has hit another brick wall. FIFA insists he can't go straight to the Court of Arbitration for Sports to appeal his 8-year ban.
President Muhammadu Buhari felicitates with Muslims ahead of Eid al-Maulud celebrations.
It's less than a week to the end of the year 2015 and the deadline to defeat Boko Haram may be on the minds of many Nigerians, but the federal government says it has met the deadline and the Islamic sect has been largely contained. The Minister of Information and Culture, Haji Lai Mohammed, today in Lagos, told journalists the troops have so degraded the capability of Boko Haram that the terrorists can no longer carry out any spectacular attacks. The minister added that, quote, the military has largely met the deadline and is now involved in mop-up and humanitarian operations. He admitted, though, that the attacks on sub-targets will not end with a deadline, but will taper off gradually. Alhaji Mohammed, however, wants Nigerians to keep faith with the government as it begins a national security campaign to raise awareness about the war. Another dimension has emerged in a case filed by the Nigerian government against Mr. Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, allegedly seeking the establishment of the nation of Biafra. The Federal High Court in Abuja has remitted the case filed against Mr. Kanu to the Chief Justice of the Federal High Court, following the accused person's objection to his trial by the court. Presiding Judge Justice Muhammad Ahmed held that he could not go on with the matter, especially since Mr. Kanu's protest is rooted in the lack of confidence in the court. Mr. Kanu had objected to his arraignment before Justice Ahmed on the grounds that he would not receive a fair trial in court. The accused person said he would rather remain in detention than sacrifice the principles of natural justice on the altar of speedy trial. He therefore prayed for a separate trial by another court. Mr. Kanu is being arraigned on a 6-count charge preferred against him, including treasonable felony.
The first accused person, as Mr. Nnamdi Kanu, raised an objection to the fact that he does not have confidence in the judge that is sitting today, and that he wouldn't want the court to try the matter because he has information pointing to the fact that he will not be given fair trial in the courts. And the courts, though irrespective of the fact that the prosecution opposed that application, we amplified his grounds because we're there to do his bidding within the ambits of the law. We amplified it and then made the court to understand that once an issue of fair trial is touched on, it goes to the root of the trial because it has to do with fundamental rights. And then whatever provisions that you have in the Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2015 that is in contrary to Section 1 sub 3 of the Constitution is null and void to that extent.
Speaking of rights, Human Rights Watch has alleged that the Nigerian army killed at least 300 members of the Islamic movement of Nigeria when they clashed in Zaria, Kaduna State last week. A group in a statement described the killing as wholly unjustified and wants the president to end human rights abuses in the Nigerian military. HRW claimed its findings were derived from interviews granted by 16 witnesses to the killings and 5 others, including local authorities who said the soldiers fired on the sect's members at 3 locations in Zaria. The group says it was also shocked at the alleged response by the presidency to the killings, which it says described the clash as a military affair. It adds, characterizing this terrible carnage against Shiites in Zaria as a military affair is shocking. President Buhari should ensure the military's appalling track record of serious human rights abuses is halted and does not continue under his term in office. Human Rights Watch further claimed that the soldiers who carried out the attack quickly buried the bodies of mass graves without the permission of family members. Nigerians could heave a sigh of relief from the lingering fuel scarcity across the country anytime now, given the various intervention measures by the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation. This comes as the state oil company today announced the commencement of daily production of 3.2 million litres of petrol by the Kaduna Refinery and Petrochemical Company. We continue our review of the year 2015. Our focus tonight is the health sector, where industrial disharmony remains a recurring decimal and a constant feature this year. While lack of infrastructure and affordable healthcare are still major challenges, there has been a ray of hope for polio eradication as the country successfully interrupted polio transmission in about 17 months. Our correspondent Yomi Otaigbe reports.
Nigeria's health sector rolled into the year 2015 with a spillover of a strike action by the joint health sector unions, made up of all health workers except medical doctors. The industrial action in public hospitals across the nation over welfare and promotion issues began in November 2014 and was called off in early February 2015 after a meeting with former President Goodluck Jonathan. But just when Nigerians seeking medical services in these hospitals were about heaving a sigh of relief, some members of the health workers' unions embarked on another strike on the 18th of May over what they call government's inability to resolve the adjustment of the Consolidated Health Salary Structure, CONHES, and other issues.
The NOAP union had expected some circulars. Out of about 10 circulars expected, at least have about 5 or 6 of them released. Circular does not mean money, but it translates to money at the long run.
Although the strike was suspended on the 9th of June to allow President Muhammadu Buhari's government to look into the issues, a lasting remedy is needed to address incessant strikes and professional disharmony in Nigeria's health sector. Meanwhile, in April, a strange illness in Odeirele in Ondo State, southwest Nigeria, also tested the country's public health system. After the consumption of contaminated locally brewed alcohol, over a dozen of people lost their lives.
Those who have died had no symptoms of vomiting or diarrhea.
On a bright note, the 24th of July 2015 saw Nigeria crossing the first hurdle to being declared polio-free. That day marked a whole year without a single wild polio virus transmission. This feat has been attributed to better immunization coordination and surveillance.
It's very clear that even though polio transmission in Nigeria has been interrupted, we still have a long road to travel towards its eradication.
Aside from this important achievement, not much can be said about progress in the health sector. The new Minister of Health, Professor Isaac Adewole, is yet to unveil the administration's agenda for health. But stakeholders in the health sector are already highlighting some of the areas to fix in the coming year.
National Health Act, especially where it concerns the basic health care, should be implemented.
Government must dedicate more revenue for research and development.
I would like it if there are more doctors on the ground. Usually it's the nurses we meet.
how interprofessional wranglings are handled, and how well the 221.7 billion naira budget for Nigeria's health sector is implemented next year, among other factors, will determine what shape events in the sector will take in 2016. Yomi Otaibe reporting for Channels Television News.
In part 2, after the break, Channels Television is Station of the Year for a record 10th time. Chairman, CEO attributes feat to staff and God. Please stay with us.